Good evening and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. Tonight, as usual, we're soliciting questions and comments from you via Twitter at Mason Roundtable and or with the hashtag TMR episode 38 and or on the Facebook event page. You'll see there's just a few of us tonight. Jason and Robert Johnson are busy with other obligations, but we'll get right into it. My name is John Ruark. I'm the past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Nick.
I like how you introduce the show saying good evening, so I'm going to say it like Alfred Hitchcock. Good evening. Nick Johnson, past master of Corinthian Lodge number 67 in Big Time, Farmington, Minnesota.
Good evening, brothers. My name is Juan Sepulveda. I am a member of Iola Lodge number 207 in Orlando, Florida.
Excellent. Alrighty. With that, let's get right into any new Masonic news. Just as a reminder, there is, as we mentioned last week, an ongoing fundraiser campaign by Worshipful Brother Cliff Porter to challenge all the Masons out there to help a good man get started in his new life. As a brief recap, Brother Cliff Porter is in the law enforcement business and has helped a young man get on his feet after some rough times. And so he's trying to raise some funds to get this young man a new and working car so he can go to school. I think it's a noble effort, something that we could all pitch in. As I said last time, if all of us just gave $5, we would definitely exceed his goal very quickly. So I encourage everyone to do so. There are 22 days left as of this recording date. So you still have plenty of time to get in there and help him out. Let's see. Also, I wanted to mention a new podcast that's available, Masonic podcast, that I stumbled upon as I was paying my Scottish Rite dues, which is the Tyler's Place. There's a link to it in the show notes, but I know there was a previous podcast from the Scottish Rite before. What was the name of that one, Nick? Do you remember?
The Life Masonic.
I knew you would know.
Oh, yeah. I actually chatted with Jason Van Dyne, who was the original. I did an interview blog post about him, and so I'm very curious to see how this new podcast comes together. I think the Scottish Rite is pretty much running on the vanguard of social media, so hopefully this continues along that line.
Right. For those following the Life Masonic, they really haven't had a lot of updates in a year almost. So hopefully this will be a new, reinvigorated podcast. This just came out October 7th. I just found out about it. They only have episode 1, but it seems to be a pretty good story about the history of, I believe, Eisenhower. So check that out.
So episode 1, not Jar Jar Binks, right? Can't let that happen.
It can't be any worse than that. All right. Any other Masonic news, gents? Anything I missed?
I don't think so.
Good.
I'm sure stuff happened. We just don't have anything to report
Stuff
right
and
now.
things.
Right. And as I alluded
John
to
had a
earlier,
really John had a really good meme this week on Masonic Meme Monday, so I don't know if you've got that up right away, but I thought it was pretty funny.
oh, thanks. It came together.
It's true news, you know.
According to Nick Johnson, anything on Reddit is the actual news.
Front page of the internet.
So we'll share that in the show notes too. Good. As I alluded to earlier, Jason is off in Italy having a good time on his 5th anniversary, so good for him for not dialing into the show, and he's he regrets that he's missing his first ever show that he's missed out of 38 shows. He's got to break his record.
Disappointed.
I hope he's listening. And then Robert Johnson is off with his Masonic obligations with the Cryptic Council. So it'll just be the three of us tonight. Hopefully we'll carry this conversation forward.
We're going to kill it.
We're going to kill it. So for our Halloween episode, I wanted to try to have something that many of you have noticed in the corner of most of my shows, where I have my little buddies over there. I got a couple of skulls. Talked to him a couple times. Why is that there? What does that mean? Why is it something that I care so much about? Well, I'll tell you in the next 30 minutes. That's the plan. But to begin, really wanted to look back at what is the symbolism of the skull, or as the title of the show is, Memento Mori. I'll leave it out there. So what's the translation of Memento Mori to the gentleman out there?
Yeah, Memento Mori loosely translates to remember death, or remember mortality.
That you have to die.
So why should we care? Why should we be so worried about such a graphic, gory thing? Right? Why do we want to remember our death?
Yeah. Even though it's a perceived as a gory and scary symbol, it is there to remind us that our lifespan is specific. We have a time when we're born, and inevitably we're gonna pay taxes and die. So
you just had to go there.
Yeah. So that day is gonna come. Therefore, we need to do in between those two events, being born and dying, we need to be as effective and efficient as possible so that we can get the best out of life and have the biggest impact on the people that surround us.
Mm-hmm. Nick, anything to add to that?
Well, it's one of those that I think Masonic teachings very much focus on this concept that time is finite. It's one of those that we're I kind of describe Masonry as a deity. It's a deity adoration society. So it's one of those that we're not taught how to worship or anything like that, but we're all taught kind of a similar thing, which is that we should always remember that while we're here, we need to do the work, but when we're gone, after the work that we have done, we hopefully get to enter into that great lodge above, as we like to say it. Not that we like to say, but that we say at Masonic funerals, that we're hopefully, based on the things that we have done, that we have earned our place in heaven.
Mm-hmm. There's another good Latin phrase that also is seen often commonly with the skull symbolism, which is vanitas, or vanity, or loosely translated, all things are vain, all things are vanity, right? Everything that we have here on our earthly realm is just that. We can't take it with us. It's all vanity. It's all just items, just stuff. And so it's associated with the skull symbolism to, again, remind us that what's here on earth stays here, and we have to look beyond that. So as I was doing some research for the skull symbolism, it was really interesting to start with. If you look back, as long as people have been dying and seeing the bones of their ancestors, that's always been a constant reminder, a constant symbol of death, right? And so it's been there way before, the Judeo-Christian kind of influence. But over time, the symbols evolved into something less gory. Now, look, I think that's the one thing that was kind of interesting about this, is why I wanted to do this symbol for the show, was when I was becoming a Mason, I was ring shopping, looking online to see what kind of Masonic rings were out there, and I saw rings that had the skull and crossbone in there, or just the skull. I thought, interesting. Go on. I want to know more about what was behind that symbol, and why Masons war skull rings, war skull jewelry, war skull neckties, right? That what was the reason behind that symbolism? And in doing that, the first response that any non-Mason may see is, well, that seems kind of gory. It seems kind of graphic. Why are Masons so obsessed with graphic imagery, very gory things that are associated with pirates, right? That things that are pirateering, plundering, that kind of thing. A fear-based symbol. But when you really go back and look at how the symbol has evolved over time, that it has become less of a gory symbol, more of a threat, and less of a threat and more of a reminder, as Juan and Nick alluded to, of your mortality. And so I think that's been an interesting arc. And so while it's a really cool symbol, it does have powerful imagery behind it. While it's also fun for Halloween because there's lots of stores carrying skulls, I can go add to my collection like I showed on the Facebook page. But really, it's a constant reminder, right? It's a reminder for me, not for anyone else, but for me, that I only have a limited time here on Earth, and that I should be trying to improve myself the best I can while I'm here and influence others. Because after that time, that's it.
I keep imagining that you have a closet in your house somewhere that it's just like filled to the brim with skulls, and like one of your kids is gonna come up and just open the door. Dad, the skulls are all over me again. Well, you gotta pick them all up.
Yeah. There are no skeletons in my closet.
One thing too, if you look at the fact that there's so many negative things associated with the symbol of the skull, you can see how someone who is not informed about what Masonry is about, looking, from the outside looking in, seeing the obsession, of sort, they might think there's something sinister about what we do, and they take that almost as a validation for their suspicions of Freemasonry as a fraternity, devil worship, Luciferian, etc., etc. So,
no, that's a good point. That is a little bit of the mystery behind Freemasonry, which only sparks those conspiracy theorists we talked about in some of the earlier episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I wanted to mention also that from the beginning of time, people know that at the end you'll see a skull. When people would pass away, eventually they would decay, and their skeletal remains is the only thing that they would have access to. So there will be biologically, from the very beginning, an association of death with the symbol of the skull. Now, eventually, that whole symbolism makes its way through religion or spiritual beliefs, or even through art, which is what I love. So Memento Mori's, some of the most beautiful examples of them, of course, are artistic renditions of what the Memento Mori symbolism is. And people might think instantly about the Renaissance and the whole Enlightenment and the inclusion of Memento Mori in art, but this goes back much, much further than this. And I have one example that I absolutely love, and I want to share with you. Let me share the screen here very quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Please let me know if you can see this. It'll probably be black for a minute, and
there it is. Yeah.
There it is. This piece is Memento Mori. That's the title that was given to it. This is a mosaic found in Pompeii, and it's part of one of the properties that remain, some of the archaeological finds. For those brothers that might not know, the city of Pompeii was a very, very sophisticated, very wealthy component of the Roman Empire, And this particular mosaic dates back, the estimate is between 30 before the Common Era and the year 14. So we're talking about, this is over 2,000 years old. But you will notice one peculiar thing that you might recognize. It is a symbol of a skull, and right above it, it has a level. And in the description that I found about this particular piece, it talks about that death is that great leveler, the one that actually makes everybody equal. It doesn't matter whether you're royalty, whether you're part of the common folk, death comes to us all. So that symbol in that case has a part in reminding people that we're all meeting on the level.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Juan, because that's certainly one of the earliest recorded artwork. Right? There's been other symbolisms and paintings throughout time, but that one stands out as, wow, this was clearly shown to be an outstanding symbol of its time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and before I forget, I wanted to show, and brother Jason, not our Jason. This is another Jason. He made this.
It's like coming at me.
Yeah, it's gonna get you. We exchanged some letters and some packages, and he sent this in it, and it is a representation of that particular work of art, but he took the artistic liberty of adding a square and compasses in the forehead. But the cool thing about it is that even though I had seen that piece before, when I received this, I didn't connect it. So it actually sent me in that scavenger hunt of sorts. I was like, what is this? I know I've seen it before. And then reading up on that story was really cool. So thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm. Nick, anything you want to add? You've been a little quiet tonight.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, going back to Masonic examples, I'll just show you something that I find pretty fascinating. But, this was the Knights Templar apron. It was taken out of service in the either in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and I'm assuming it's because of the fact that it has a skull and crossbones on it, a Memento Mori.
Spooky.
But to be perfectly honest, I think it's one of the most beautiful aprons that exists in Masonry, and it's pretty much a shame that we don't get to use it.
I agree.
But I think, yeah.
I mean, every Knight Templar I've talked to, at least the younger ones, said, "Man, I wish we could wear those aprons, man. Bring those back. A standard issue."
Don't tell Grand Encampment, but I think just having it cover in this with a black suit would probably look a lot better than what we have now. But I didn't say that. God, no. I can just hear the letters, all in the mailbox. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think this is one of the greatest symbols that we as Knights Templar, and all three of us are. Obviously we won't go into the ritual, but it really does leave an impression in your mind just seeing that symbol and understanding what it means. And yeah, I really do. I wish we could return this to the uniform, but I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably because of the fact that it is such a stark reminder of death, and people don't want to talk about death. Death is very uncomfortable. I mean, we've all lost somebody close to us, most of us have, and it always is. I mean, it's one of those very shocking, it's almost like a thread is cut, a thread is cut, and all of a sudden that whole section of life is gone for you. And so I understand why people would be uncomfortable with a symbol like that, but at the same time I think it's a very important symbol to remind us that what we're doing now is important, because we don't know what will happen tomorrow. And we should really be focusing on today's work, just to be not even to be remembered, but just to further mankind. So maybe one day they'll return it on there. If you're listening, head honchos, let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
You know, you mentioned that reminder of that encourages us to do better and do good things, even for humanity and that kind of stuff. And I love that. I love people trying to help others get inspired and try to move society and their community forward. But it reminded me of a post that I did on the Winding Stairs where I asked, what are you doing today that people will be talking about 200 years from now? And I had some brothers writing something very philosophical. Oh, blah, 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 I'm doing this with the community and that. And one brother said, not everybody has to do something grand. I drive truck and I feed the people. He said something like, I feed the people that can't feed themselves. And it put things into perspective, because not everybody is going to work at a capacity of, bettering humanity. It's like we might be, we get really excited about what Freemasonry can do for the greater good of society, but even that mortality symbol reminds us, what are you doing for your family? When you're not around, what are your kids going to do? Are you preparing for that moment? Whether it is financially or at the very least contributing those lessons that you've received as a man, helping those kids grow. Because how many kids go through school and that's all the education they get? They don't get to learn about ethics and morals and not even common courtesy. They're expected the school system to take care of that, and that can't be the case.
Note to self: take out insurance policy.
You saw that Onion article about that, right? Where it said 40% of human population considered filler.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yep. Hey, the other piece of symbolism I wanted to mention too is when we covered in our esoteric episode, we talked a little bit about alchemy, specifically spiritual alchemy, not the physical act of turning lead into gold. And the skull makes, of course, right. I have lots of gold just hanging right back here. So if you want some, just give me a call. The spiritual aspect of alchemy, however, does also use the skull symbolism. And in Tim Hogan's book, I forgot the name of it already, but it's the alchemical keys to the Masonic ritual. I believe that's actually correct. He talks a bit about the caput mortem, or the dead head. What that is exactly this. It is a skull with a raven perched on top. And so the good news is people don't even know what it is, and yet they're selling it in Halloween stores. So I got lots of chances to get some of these. But it's actually an alchemical symbol that demonstrates the first phase of alchemy, spiritual alchemy. And in the alchemical process, a chemical process is applied to whatever base you're using, and it breaks it down into very small sublimation kind of thing. So it's basically the first process to break whatever herbs you're using and break them down into almost their base, just leftovers for what it's worth. That is a process of really removing the impurities, breaking things down into their base pieces before you can then transform it into something else. And so just that first step of alchemy is represented as the caput mortem, the death head, with a skull with the raven perched on top. And so I think that's fascinating. There's lots of artistic renderings of this symbol, and because of that, and because I love the Baltimore Ravens, it's kind of a win-win. Skulls, Ravens, pure awesomeness. So I found that to be really interesting, really fascinating. It's a beautiful symbol too. It does, again, evoke some of the imagery and emotional response to it as well. So I wanted to share that. All right. Let's go to the old social media and see. I know Sean Gorley posted on the Facebook page. This is a really good question because I've thought of it myself. Do you guys know where to get, and if it's even possible to purchase, a human skull for use as a tool for self-reflection? Actual human skull.
Yes.
No comment.
I know a guy.
I know a guy who has some knowledge. Well, you can
Better
find
call
them
Saul.
rather easily though. Oh, better call Saul.
Yeah, I don't. Even though, I've actually seen them in lodge rooms, the real deal, and I just kind of sit there and go, where did you even get this? It's like, do I want to ask? No, not really.
So
It's
let me
just
get this straight.
creepy.
I just heard you say you actually saw a human skull in a lodge room. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not gonna investigate. I'm just gonna assume it was. Well, maybe it was resin. I don't know. Freaking me out. I don't know. Some people are crazy. Some people are like, "Hey, here, look at this," and it's like, no, I don't want to know.
Well, I can tell you, a few months ago, I found on eBay they were selling an actual human skull, and this one though had Masonic symbols carved onto it. And I don't know how much it went for. It looked wicked though. It looked really, really cool. But I think it even had the name of the original owner engraved in it. But I know that you're not supposed to list human remains on eBay unless they're for medical purpose, so you can find skeletons and skulls, but they are, there's a disclaimer that it's for medical purpose. So I don't know what the.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know when I used to watch the TV show, shoot, what was the one where they sell all sorts of crazy crap in New York at the store?
Oh,
Yeah.
That one. Oddities.
Oddities.
Yeah.
there we go.
That came up very often. People wanted to either buy or sell a human skull, and they said, "We'd like to, but it's highly regulated and controlled of what can transferred and bought." So basically, if it's before a certain date, it's okay. If it's recent, then you can't. Also, Stephen Reed mentioned on the Facebook page, it's kind of interesting. It really makes for an interesting irony. The skull reminds us of how short our time is here, and yet so many things in the craft take so long to happen. That's very, very true.
That's very good.
It seems like things don't go fast enough for us. All right.
I wanted to share something with the brothers. Have you heard of a website called Art of Manliness?
Yes.
Okay. It's a very good website. I found a lot of things there that I really enjoy. And I don't know there's I don't know if the brothers know, but it's the man that started it, the founder of it is Brett McKay, and he's actually a brother. And I want to share the page with you because in 2012, leading up to Halloween, he has a post, the Memento Mori. So I'll show you now. Let me know when you can see it.
Ta-da!
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
I encourage brothers to check it out, read through it, just because it gives a little bit of an explanation about the Memento Mori, but it has a lot of examples throughout the centuries of how the Memento Mori was used in art. Sometimes it's very subtle. In others, it's very explicit. But the purpose is it's all the same. It's to remind people of their mortality. So
That's
you can
awesome.
still see these?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really cool ones. My favorite one, and I didn't see it here. I have to find the name of it, but it's actually, let me stop sharing so I can. There's two men standing next to each other, and it's like a full body portrait. It's very large, and on the floor there is something that looks kind of strange, and it's an anamorphic depiction of the Memento Mori. The only way for you to see the skull is for you to be standing above the painting at an angle. And
Nice.
originally, the way it was displayed, it was, if I'm not mistaken, at the bottom of a staircase. So if you were looking at the painting from the top of the staircase looking down, you could see the skull floating on their feet.
Oh,
But
that's
when
cool.
you're looking at it head on, it just looks distorted. You don't recognize what it is.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. All right,
If any
guys.
lodge wants me to make a painting like that, I know how to do it. I just haven't had the opportunity to do it.
Sounds like a good challenge.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, that's about all I wanted to cover tonight. I think it's kind of short and sweet since we have a couple guys missing. Let's start going around and wrapping up. Let's start with Nick. Any final thoughts and shameless plugs?
Sure. Well, I don't have so much a final thought as much as a deep thought. And so, to quote a very wise man, Jack Handy, when I found the skull in the woods, the first thing I did was call the police. But then I got curious about it. I picked it up and started wondering who this person was and why he had deer horns. With that, I thought this was a really good discussion. It is. It's one of those that death is reflected upon in so many of our Masonic degrees, and I've seen a few of them, and yeah, it is very much a common theme, and I'm not sure exactly what that means for us, other than maybe we're in a weird group, but I really enjoyed this discussion, and I really do think that we have to reflect sometimes on thinking about today and the present, knowing what's coming in the future. With that, I'm Nick Johnson. I have a blog, millennialfreemason.com. You can find that on the interwebs. I promise I'll have more content one of these days. I did post something about the Children's Hospital, but you already heard that last week, or 2 weeks ago, so whatever. But also I'm on Reddit, reddit.com/r/freemasonry. Go hang out with us. You can also go to r/Yorkrite, r/ScottishRite, and there was John's meme. It was pretty good. I tried, honestly, I tried to get in on that sweet karma, but apparently if you mention the words one day to masonry, all of a sudden people start to freak out and downvote you, so I felt sad. But let's see. Here we go.
You ousted me many
And
times.
mine. I know. That was mine.
Womp womp.
Oh god, and yes, it's happening.
Do I need to get the
So with that, I'll stop talking. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. Oh god.
All right, Nick. Thanks for everything.
Awesome.
All right, Juan.
Yeah.
All right, I do enjoy the subject. I love the connection to art and the fact that artist after artist has at one point or another considered their mortality, especially when they're starving. But you also, I like the shocking lessons that come with it. You could have learned a lot of the lessons that are in Freemasonry elsewhere. You could have picked a book about, the virtues, or pick up a book about, the liberal arts and sciences and learn that way. But it's through that effective use of symbols that are impressed upon your mind, or through a ritual that really makes you stop and think. So that lends credibility, and it solidifies that lesson in your mind. So hopefully you brothers remember what you found here. If there are things that we missed that you wanted to share, you think that should be discussed, make sure you go to the comment section below, whether you're watching this on the website or through YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, give us a rating or review. It helps us to know how we're doing. And make sure to, if you have the bookmark for the Spark Light campaign, please send us a picture of it in your favorite book. Let us know why it is your favorite book. Preferably if it's a Masonic book, it can help us spark light with other brothers that can also know what books to get. But very soon we will be making the first drawing where we will send one of our favorite books to one of the participating brothers. So put that bookmark in your favorite book, snap a picture, and load it up to our page. If you need to know how to find out how to get your bookmark, you'll find more details at the Masonic Roundtable.
Excellent.
That's it for now. Before I go, I want to let you know I have some really exciting episodes coming. I have a few episodes that I've recorded already of the Winding Stairs, especially the Masonic the Traveling Brothers. So, but Victor and I have recorded a couple episodes as well.
Nice.
We're bringing that back, and I have a good project on the works, and you want to be a part of it. Go to thewindingstairs.com, sign up for my email messages if you want to be a part of it. The chamber is approaching. And that's it for me. Thank you, bro.
Nice. Very good. Very, very cool. In conclusion, I want everyone to stop for a minute. Stop what you're doing. Unless you're driving, keep driving. But stop and think. You are going to die. That is going to happen to us all. And what you do between right now and that final day is your legacy. So stop and think about what impact you have on your life, what impact you have on others near you, and what other legacy you may leave beyond. I think that's the most powerful message of what remembering your death, Memento Mori, is really about. So stop and think about what you can do, how you can be a better person, how you can contribute more to the relief of others. And a good segue into that is remember Cliff Porter's fundraising campaign. Just a couple bucks can go a long way to help a guy get on his feet and get off to class much easier. As Juan said, if you we are continuing the Sparklight campaign. If you don't have a bookmark, easiest way to get a bookmark is to donate to the Masonic Roundtable at the website below, and there's a shop tab at the top. You donate to us, we give you a pin and a couple bookmarks. If you don't have a bookmark yet, that's fine too. We want to see what books you're reading. We want to learn. This discussion is learning what Masonic books, what philosophical books, what educational books really spark your initiative, and what do you want to share with the rest of us. So if you don't have a bookmark, that's okay. Upload it to our Facebook page on our wall, put the hashtag Sparklight, and that'll help us see what your favorite books are. And as Juan alluded to, pretty soon we'll be doing a drawing of those submissions to send out one of our favorite books to you free of charge. So you can't lose for that. With that, thank you very much for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.